Okay, welcome everyone. Today is Sunday, February 28th, I think 28th, Sunday 28th, 2021. We're at the end of the month, and today we have our guest speaker is Tommy Waller with Val, and this is his third and final presentation. Before we get started, I want to do a quick screen share. I'm Lori Hines with the Taste of Israel, and I want to share with you our sponsors for these Zoom presentations. Let me see if I can get this to come on. Yes, all right. It is. Our sponsors for these speakers and presentations are Ann Stacy, who is the person with Texans for Israel. Her website is texansforsafeisrael.org. Please look up her website and see the work that she's doing for Israel. And then we also have Texans for Israel with Mike Isley. Also look up his website, texansforisrael.com. It is under construction, but you can learn more about his work. The biggest thing he's done recently is the documentary, I Am Israel. And there's a website for that as well. So please check it out. And then myself, I have a Taste of Israel that I'm blogging about, trying to educate people on Israel and also enjoy the fruits of Israel through wine and food tours when tourism opens back up. All right, so with that said, I want to welcome everyone. We have a mixture of our audience is a mixture of both Christians and Jews, and our speakers are a mixture of Christians and Jews. In fact, the next slide I'm going to show you while I still have my screen share on is I want to announce a few of our upcoming speakers. We've been working feverishly to get great speakers lined up for the spring, and we have more than one I'm about to show you. But for the month of March, here is our list of upcoming speakers. We have Julie Cerrone, who is the liaison to Israel and the Jewish community from Eagle Mountain International Church, Kenneth Copeland Ministry. He'll be next on March 7th, next Sunday, a week from today. Following Julie will be Dr. Jim Garlow and Rosemary Schindler Garlow. You may know Rosemary from the movie Schindler's List. Oscar Schindler was her distant relative, and both her and Dr. Jim Garlow will be presenting. They are the co-founders of Well-Versed World. We're very excited to have all three of these wonderful people coming on to be our speakers. Dr. Jim Garlow and Rosemary will be March 14th and the 21st. I do not compare these people, but I am going to speak on the 28th. I'm going to share my testimony of how I got into this world of Israel advocacy as a Christian without any hidden agenda, and why I am so passionate and obsessed with what we are doing. And so that's coming up for the next 3 to 4 weeks. So we hope that you will tune in. All right, let me stop screen sharing and speak to you guys directly. I want to just mention again that our mission here is to teach Gentiles to love the Jewish people and the land of Israel without any hidden agenda. And we acknowledge that we all have different theological perspectives, and we will not impose our theology on anyone. We're just simply here to really, in other words, grow our circle of friendship. So welcome, and we're very excited to hear from Tommy, and we've got some great things to discuss. Just for those of you who are new to our format is we do an interview style where I ask questions and we have a dialogue, a conversation back and forth. And we go for about 45 minutes to an hour. And if time allows, we will have a short Q&A session at the end. And then of course, I will email all this recording out to everyone on our distribution list afterwards. Welcome, Tommy. You're in Israel. What time is it there right now?
It is 10 o'clock.
Wow.
10 o'clock in Israel. Yep. 10 o'clock. It's, for us farmers, it's late. We go to bed with the chickens out here. We actually have a couple of, we have a bunch of chickens here right now. So
yay.
Yeah. We get, so glad to have you. We're adding to the animals. We got goats and chickens and cows, and and next time you come out here, you'll see the farm we got building out here.
Fantastic. Let me see if I can get you on speaker view real quick. All right, there, that's better. Well, Tommy, I just want to say we're so happy to have you, but we're also sad that this is your last presentation. Maybe we can have you back again sometime in the future. We enjoy everything you teach us, and we hang on to every word. So
it's been an honor. It's been a real blessing to be here as well. And you're doing a great job hosting too, Lori.
Thank
You're just
you.
amazing.
I got to give
you're amazing.
Thank you. You're sweet. Okay, well, let's go ahead and jump in. I just want to, before we go forward, I just want to take one step back. I think you have screen share permission. Yes. I want to start, if you will. Last week, you shared a map with us and you taught us the lay of the land and where you're located. Can you start there? And then when you get there, I'm going to ask you my first question.
Okay.
All right, guys.
Here we go. You see that?
We can see it. It's all yours.
All right, good. All right. Yeah, so this is a map, obviously illustrating the Israel in a kind of a different perspective here, but you can see a lot here. If you can see my pointer, I should have made my pointer a little bigger, but hopefully you can see it.
Yep.
But you see Nablus, or today they call it Nablus. It is Shechem. There's a whole story behind that, why the name was changed. You see Shiloh or Shiloh, Ariel. Some of you might be familiar with those cities there, Bet-El down here. But we are located right here in Shechem. We say in Tennessee, if you're good in Hebrew, you would say Shem or something like that. People still make fun of my Hebrew, but it's a different dialect. But anyway, this is where we are, right where my cursor is right here. Okay. Now I can stand where I'm at right now. I'm talking to you from this place, from what the Bible calls Mount Gerizim. It's also referred to in the scripture as the Mount of Blessing. So I'm speaking to you here from the Mount of Blessing. And today...
excuse me, Tommy, 1 second. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I need to ask everybody to please mute yourself. Please mute yourself real quick, so we can keep going. Thank you, guys. Okay, Tommy, it's all yours.
There you go. No, I just was, was on a walk today, and I just have this amazing view. But from here, I can see the whole coast of Israel.
Wow.
From here, I can see all the way down to Ashdod here, which is just very close to the Gaza Strip, if you've heard of that. And then all the way up to Haifa. I can see all the way up to Haifa. And so it's just an amazing view from this place. So here you see this 15 kilometers, which is about 9 miles. This little indicator right here. That's the distance between what we call the green line. You see this green line right here. We went over this a little bit last week. But that's the distance from that green line to the population of Israel. Really, the coastline of Israel is 9 miles. Now, we're talking, a lot of you guys are listening here from Texas, and some of you have driveways that are longer than 9 miles. So I know that that's not that far, and you'd understand why that's significant. But this is one of the things that we're trying to do is support the Jewish people in their resettlement. They've returned to the mountains of Israel, and the return to the mountains of Israel is significant on a lot of levels. One, this is where God spoke, and the other is that if we're going to protect the population of Israel, because we're talking about from Haifa all the way down to Ashdod, probably a majority of the population of Israel live in these places. This is the airport right here. So this population of Israel, then, if you were to say, we're going to make this area right here where you see the green line, which is this is Samaria.
Can you
go
stop
ahead
quick and go take your cursor and do a quick review on what that green line is and what it means?
Okay.
Two green lines. What is this?
Right. So the green line is what they would call the armistice line. This is the line, and I'm trying to make this real short.
Yeah.
But in before 1967, all this land you see behind the green line, or would say to the right, or on this side where you see Nablus and Ariel and Shiloh, all of that land, and even down here in Bethlehem, Kfar Etzion, and Hebron, all these places right here, all this belonged to Jordan. This was the country of Jordan. Matter of fact, in Jerusalem, you can see the palace, where the king of Jordan began to build the palace there. But in 1967, that changed, and it changed for a good reason, and that is that what Israel realized, and it's realized for a long time, that not having control of Judea and Samaria was dangerous for Israel, because, as we've seen in the experiment, and I call it experiment, in Gaza, when we gave up the Gaza Strip, we've had literally thousands of rockets flying into Israel, and the whole southern end of Israel, from Ashdod here south out into the Negev, is basically, people have been living in terror because the alarms. Some of you are familiar with the alarms that are going off when these rockets are fired out of Gaza, and So what you see Gaza, what the news that you hear from Gaza, and these rockets and this continual barrage of terrorism, really, against Israel, would actually happen on a much bigger level if the mountains of Israel, what we call the mountains of Israel, this is Judea and Samaria, everything behind the green lines, if that belonged to a Palestinian state, a state that wants to see, and actually even in their charter wants to see Israel wiped off the face of the earth. But my children, I'll tell you this, even this week, went in, Joshua, some of you know my children, Joshua and my son-in-law Luke went into a Arab village this week. My family's fearless. They're not afraid of anybody. They went in and talked to the mayor of an Arab village near Shiloh. And when they went in there, the mayor of this Arab community there has a map of Palestine. Israel, all of that, what you see right here is not listed, is not on his map. There's no Jewish towns. There's nothing that would even indicate that the Jews have returned to any part of this. To most of the Palestinians, they have been taught that all of Israel is theirs,
right,
and will be theirs.
I want to stop here for just a second and go back. So just to sum up, though that green line that outlined Samaria and Judea at one time belonged to Jordan,
right,
and then they had the 6-day war, and Israel regained their land. And now that green line is, there's two words for that green line. That's everything that's inside of that is either called Judea and Samaria, or it's called the West Bank. And what you're saying is the non-existent Palestinian state, which is really not a state, is not acknowledging Judea and Samaria belonging to Israel. They still believe it belongs to them. And so that is the contested area. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay, great. This will lead me to my first question of the day.
Okay, great.
Unless you had another comment to add to what you were saying.
No, I want to just emphasize that if you give those that want to see you, if those of us that are not Jewish may not understand the significance of this.
Right.
What I just told you is I walked around my place well inside. I'm here, well inside the green line. I can see the houses of people, the apartment buildings of people that live in this community right here.
Right.
If where I am right now would become a terrorist state, now let's just call it what it would be. It would be a terrorist state.
That's right.
This would be a terrible thing.
Okay.
And that's just logically speaking. I'm not talking to you from any kind of religious or anything. This is not good, just for the sake that we, just for the purpose of not wiping out a huge population of people.
Right. Okay. Well, that just a thought comes to my mind. So many thoughts. One, though, I've often heard the IDF people, the spokesperson, say, if there was no IDF, there would be no Israel. And so, but that's a whole nother subject. But I want to go on to our first question, which is going to delve deeper into what you just said. So, guys, get ready, because Tommy's about to educate us. So listen carefully. It's going to get crazy here. It's about to get really crazy. All right, Tommy, there are the ABCs of Israel. And when I say Israel, I'm talking about specifically Judea and Samaria. What we're looking at inside the green line, there's ABCs of this. What I mean by that is, if you don't know this already, folks, the land of Israel is divided into 3 separate zones: Zone A, B, and C. And it's very important that we understand what this means and why it matters. So Tommy, please explain this to us.
Okay. So what happened in the Oslo Accord is that the agreement there was that they, and all of this is happening since 1967. There was this continual attempt to bring Middle East peace. And whenever you hear the word Middle East peace, it's always referring to one part of Israel. Middle East peace, if you're talking about a meeting about Middle East peace, it's always going to be about Israel and the rest of the Arab nations. So the agreement here is that Area A would be fully under the autonomy of the Palestinians, the Arab communities here. These are all Arab communities. So if you look in here, this dark green area would be the Arab communities in Judea and Samaria, or what some people call the West Bank. The B areas were areas that were where Israel has military control, but these areas are mostly inhabited by Arab communities. These are basically areas that were designated because there had to be access roads that Jews would drive through to enable them to get to their area, which is Area C. Area C is what a lot of people understand as Jewish communities or the settlements. This Area C is what the anti-Israel community would call the occupation. It's where the Jews, any place where the Jews live is called the occupation. When you hear the word occupation, it refers to the Jews, anywhere that the Jews returned to. And really in 1967, it was a miracle. I think everybody in this call, on this Zoom call, would understand that this was a miracle. 6 days, Israel was able to conquer an attacking army from Jordan, and was able to get this part of the land. And we're talking about East Jerusalem as well, and all of this territory that our Bibles are full of stories. I would say it's been said that 80% of the Bible is written in this area, this what we're talking about. So there's a lot of controversy, there's a lot of emotion, a lot of passion, a lot of conflict over this particular part of Israel, and it's and I believe that's because God has. This is the place where the story of the Bible, where God spoke here, and so there's going to be spiritual battles that are going on right here, but the world is really preoccupied with the idea that the Jews are coming back to the place that God said that they would come back to. So
Okay.
there's these areas here, and Area C, if you're looking at it too, Area C is always going to be listed in most maps as the contested areas. The contested. You're never going to see Area A as a contested area, which is interesting. You're always going to see Area C, which is the Jewish settlement. That's going to be the contested area. Again, there was a good reason for Israel to take this part of Israel. Again, obviously Jordan proving it, could not be trusted over the population, the main population of Israel. And this is important for Israel to have this land right here.
Okay,
just from
I
that
want to
standpoint.
interject something, Tommy. Forgive me for interrupting you. You say Jordan owned this land. Can we tweak that a little bit, because really isn't it more accurate to say that Jordan agreed? They really didn't own the land; they just agreed to it. And then when they did before 1967, they had Jordan didn't take one step to improve the land. No water, no roads, no electricity. It was barren land. And then when it was only until 67, when the Jews started moving back into their land, that's when the land began to be developed. Is that right?
Right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I apologize for the confusion there, but yeah, the obviously Jordan had control of the land, but the Palestinians, Jordan is the state of Jordan is mainly a Palestinian state. There's more Palestinians that live in Jordan. So the West Bank or Judea and Samaria was really problematic for Jordan anyway. I mean, there's a whole story you could get into with this because the Palestinians are a pain. You can look back to Black Tuesday. You can look up these horrible events that the Jordanians did to the Palestinians. They hated, and they still today have a very difficult. Most of the Palestinians don't have right to vote, even in the Palestinians that live in Jordan. So there was an occupation, if you want to say, Jordan occupied this land. That's what it did. But they also had the authority over it as far as who was taking care of, who was overseeing it.
Okay,
nobody recognized it.
Thank you for clarifying that. That accuracy really comes from Ann Stacy, who is really a mentor to me. She knows the details as well. And so I want to also ask you, looking at this map, the pink and the two shades of green, why can the green be so close and yet there's such small strips of pink separating them? Tell us about the people that are living in those areas of pink that are so close to the green. I mean, if the green is Area A where there's no Jews, and I know you have a picture to share with us about Area A, but tell us about these people. Tell us about the sign first, and then tell us about the people in the pink that are close to the green. What is this sign we're looking at?
Yeah, this is a problematic sign. I think for most of us, anybody that sees it, you can obviously read in the English here in the bottom. Area A, what we talked about as being Palestinian controlled under Palestinian authority, which says right here, and entrance for Israeli citizens is forbidden, and it says it's dangerous to your lives.
And it's against Israeli law.
Right. In other words, Israel is trying to say, stay out of this because this could, your life is at risk. Which is a really sad deal. There's no signs like this on any other area of Israel forbidding, Palestinians, or forbidding, that they're going to be, at risk of their lives. So this is a really sad, a sad sign here. But that's that's what Israel lives with. Now, this sign here, you could see this sign going into Shechem. Now, Shechem is a very holy city to the Jewish people. There is, even in the Oslo Accord, Joseph's tomb is there. You could say the family cemetery is in Nablus, in Shechem. So the family cemetery, a Jew cannot visit his great grandfather Joseph, because this sign right here is blocking the way. The Jews have to go in the middle of the night to be able to go see the tomb. You might be able to, in America, be able to visit your family grave anytime you want to, but the Jews can't visit their own. And these were key people, right? I mean, not just insignificant people. These are key
biblical features.
Yes. So,
let me just interject here. I actually took this is my picture. I took this picture as I was going into Shechem years ago, and the only way I was able to get in there is I went with some Arab Christians. My Jewish friends didn't take me because I can't go in there because it's dangerous, it's forbidden, it's against the law. So just so I'm understanding what you're saying, because that was my first introduction to that. But you're saying, that these signs are all over Judea and Samaria. Now let me ask you: are they also in any parts of Jerusalem, West Jerusalem, Central Jerusalem, East Jerusalem?
You know what? You probably could see them in East Jerusalem. I don't. There are some communities very close to Jerusalem where you would definitely see the sign.
So Jews cannot go in there. Okay, interesting.
Can't go in there, right? Okay. Right.
But I think it was really important to highlight what you said, that we don't see these kinds of signages in Israel warning the Palestinians that they're going into a dangerous area where Jews live. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
I've never seen that.
Right. Okay. No.
Okay.
No.
Now tell us about these areas. You have another picture I think you want to share with us. Bethlehem is another area that's real Palestinian, or that's against, Jews can't go because it's too dangerous. There's a lot of area A in, like you were showing, the pink and the green.
Right.
Yes. So back to the pink area, just a quick comment about where there's a real thin piece, like near the top of that, where the large green is, large area A at the top.
Right.
Yes. There's a little bit of pink. So are we looking at this, and is it right to interpret this map saying that there are some Jewish people living in between these two dangerous area A's?
No, this is a little bit, and I want to go to this other map here, because sure. I think this map here, this is a map from Sander Baris's organization called Christian Friends of Israeli Communities. And I'll always like this map because it actually has the location of the communities that are in those areas, in the pink areas that you saw before. Okay. The Jordan Valley is pretty a fairly safe area. This area right here next to the Jordan River, and there's a lot of communities, not big communities, but there's a lot of communities here that are. You don't hear a lot about any problems in these areas. This area here, this is Shechem, where we are right here in Har Bracha. Okay. And from here north, there are now the communities that were here. These communities here were actually destroyed when the Gaza Strip was taken with so the communities that were in the Gaza, there were 4 communities in Samaria that were also destroyed.
Jewish
Jewish communities, right? Okay. So these communities are, they are not, that don't exist today. So there's very little. You might have heard recently the Hadassah, her last name, who was just murdered here just a few months ago. Yes. As she was out running. She actually lived here close to the community outside, right here next to the line.
Okay.
In this area up here.
Okay.
So, but This whole area right here, right now, you can stand and see. You can't see a Jewish if you stand on in Alon Moray, you can't see a Jewish town from anywhere here.
Okay.
From this area north.
This is a great map. I'm so glad you have this one. I've never seen this map. This is awesome. So I think now at this point in time, we have an overview. We may not all be 100% clear, but I hope that people begin to see the complexities and the real heart of Israel, the land, speaking of the land, and the challenges that are there politically, from all sides, against the Jewish people trying to establish their communities in their not only God-given land, if you want to look at it from a religious perspective, but from a international perspective, a military, a political. This is their land, and then of course all the archaeology that proves that Jewish people have lived there for thousands of years. So there's so much to say about this, but we want to move on, and so we want to go on to the next question. I know you had a picture of a sign about USA, which is going to bring us into the next question, which is, I think, your first presentation, you mentioned the phrase sheep and goat nations. And I need you to explain that and tell us also how it goes along with this sign you're showing us. Well, let me just stop here before I finish my question. This sign, if you'll notice, it says 2014. I think it's August 2014. Let's do some timeline here real quick. 2014, Obama was president, and this sign is just a big billboard sign in area A in Israel that is telling the Palestinians that US aid, meaning money, was sent to them to help them maintain their presence in Judea and Samaria by President Obama's administration. In 2016, when Trump became president, that money flow stopped with the Taylor Force Act. Please look that up on your own time. There's a lot to that. Now, back to my question. The sheep-goat nations, does that go along with the present increasing threat of terrorism from Arabs in areas A, B, and C, specifically A and B, that are now emboldened by our new U.S. administration? Are we going back to this right here?
You know, it really looks like that, and I hate this because, you know, for those of us who are taking seriously the never again, we mentioned that last week, and obviously the Jewish people know that when it's said never again. The world has to grab hold of that as well. Never again. And I think that's the thing that really bothers me, is that why are we, and I have to ask the question, why would we even attempt to aid or attempt to negotiate even with people that want to see another people? Let's just, we're still up against a very anti-Semitic situation here, but let's just talk about humanity for a second. If there's a group of people that wants to see another group of people wiped off the face of the earth, is there a negotiation? Is there a place for negotiation with these people, or is there a place for condemnation? Does the world need to condemn this action, or this because the Hamas charter, you have the Palestinian charter. That's the Fatah charter that will says and recognizes that Israel is not going to be part of this. Has nothing to do with this place. The Jews are not, from the river to the sea. They're going to be gone. Hamas declares over and over in their charter the annihilation of the Jewish people. And yet we're still fine with talking and giving support to these people. And you know what? And they are also very bold because right now they feel, like you said, emboldened to do things against the Jews, because the world is turning a blind eye to it. The world is indifferent to it, or maybe the world, you know, the world agrees with them.
Well, if
I hate to say that, but it seems
yeah,
like
no,
it.
you're so right. And then to take it a step further, if we're sending money to them, which this money says public works and all of that, la la la. But what we also know is they have a pay to slay program where Palestinian terrorists get paid a pension, or their family gets paid a pension if they kill a Jew. And the more horrific the murder, the more money they get. It is something that is very hard to wrap our head around, but this is the truth of the matter. And so go into the more about the sheep goat nations and how this plays a role here.
Without getting, and I think it would, even for the Jewish people, if they're Jews watching this or listening here on here, the idea of the sheep goat nation was really something that is part of a Christian community. It should be what Christians embody or understand is their obligation. And the story is that in the sheep goat nations are basically stem from for example, the prophet Zechariah says that, talks about in Zechariah 14, that those nations, Gentiles, these nations that stand with Jerusalem, stand with Israel, those who are going to be, they're going to get a blessing. But on the other side of that, if those that stand against Jerusalem, there's going to be a horrible thing. God's judgment is going to be against the nations that stand against Israel. There's going to be it even goes further. Those that continue to stand against Jerusalem, those that continue to stand against Israel, are not going to get rain. They're not going to be, if they don't come to Jerusalem and worship and where we experience this world peace. Now, I'm a religious, I believe the Bible is true. I think it's significant. I believe that these are things that as a Christian, we have to take on, we have to bless, we have to be a support, we have to stand with Israel. There's going to be a consequence if we don't. So in the New Testament, it talks about that if you, because obviously it's no secret that Christians here believe that Jesus is the Messiah. So, but what did Jesus teach us? Jesus taught Christians to love the Jewish people. He says in this sheep and goat nation, he's dividing this messianic deal here. He's dividing the nations here, and the nations are divided up depending on which ones were treating or blessing or giving to the Jewish people, standing with the Jewish people. He even says it, that those that are, that you would stand with my brethren, the Jewish people. So we're mandated as Christians to stand with the Jewish people and this restoration. And the sheep and goat nation, the sheep nations are the nations that are choosing to support the Jewish people. And that is what Christianity should be doing. There should never be Christians who stand against the Jewish people after all that's been done to them. I think all of us would agree that the Jewish people, more than anybody else in the world, deserves a place.
Oh, Tommy, I have to add my 2 cents in that. This is what started and I'll share more with on the day I speak, but this is the spark that led to my obsession when I went to Israel and saw what I saw for the first time, the thriving modern country of Israel that was established only less than 3 years after the Holocaust, when 6 million were annihilated, and what they've accomplished. So it's the greatest miracle, the greatest comeback kid story ever. And if you need inspiration, you just need to go to Israel. So
no doubt.
Yeah,
no doubt. Sure. The greatest comeback story of all time.
Of all time.
And the nations have to realize this is a significant opportunity, a significant time. I want to just share a story too, because as we were taking the break and waiting to come on, I was reminded, and I'm just going to go. There's these scriptures here, Zechariah that I mentioned, Matthew 25. If you're a Christian listening to this, these are significant stories. But I want to go to this picture right here because this is a very significant picture. This is a family here in Harbor Ha. And this is Itamar. This man here is Itamar Bengal. He's a teacher, was a teacher. And it's an interesting story here because it's a rare thing. And I want to say this in a very sad statement. It is a rare thing that Christians want to come to Judea and Samaria and support the Jews that are returning here, who have decided to live here with their children. Now, these are children that live here right now. They're still here, and they just got off celebrating Purim. Purim is it's a great holiday here in Israel, fun holiday. These children were just out in the streets, the past couple of days, really having a good time, all dressed up in their costumes. But Itamar was in Ariel in 2018 and just standing ready to catch a bus to come home from his a day of teaching at one of the junior high schools here in the area. A Palestinian came and stabbed him, and he was murdered right outside of Ariel. The significance to this story is that every year Itamar, his wife here, would go to they would have a sister party. Her and her sisters and all the girls would take off and go to the go to somewhere just to take a break, maybe for 2 or 3 days. They would just go have some sister time, with all the girls. And Itamar was left with the children. And Itamar and his father-in-law and his brother-in-law came to our place just the year before, maybe even 6 months before he was actually was murdered. And he came and he said in our place, just right outside where I'm at right now. He sat here in a little playground, and with all of his children, and he talked about these non-Jews that were coming here and standing with us. And it was and I didn't, at the time, I didn't know what he was doing. I didn't, I talked to him, and it was a very significant moment there for me, but I didn't understand it until after the funeral. His brother-in-law later, and his father-in-law and his father came here to our right here to our tent. We had a big tent that we have here where people eat and we meet and we have do things together. And they would talk about it. They began to talk about how Itamar would tell them, "Let's go see the volunteers. Let's go see the volunteers. Let's go down there and just sit with these guys. I get so much encouragement from these people." And as they were telling me this, they were emotional, and I was emotional because it was something that I had no idea that just our being here, helping and supporting and standing with the Jewish people here in Judea and Samaria, where most people, maybe you might be even listening to this right now, you may be just scared to death to cross the line, to cross the green line. And here we are 17 years, and I'm so thankful for our volunteers, our thousands of volunteers now that have come here and given strength to people like Itamar Bengal. He lived a life here of strength, and his family is beautiful, as you can see here right now.
Absolutely.
And I just, when I heard that he just came here to sit and to see all of the volunteers just running around, and they, you know, probably not even paying attention sometimes, you know, that he was even sitting there with his children. He was just playing, leaving him alone to do whatever family time he was having. But he wanted to take in this idea that the nations, that there was actually this prophetic thing that was happening here, that Rabbi Malamed, the chief rabbi of Har Kokhba, believes very strongly, that the nations one day are going to support Israel in the strongest way. The nations are going to support Israel. And this is the significant thing. It's not insignificant. And this is why, you know, some people look at me and they go, Tommy, you're a little bit weird. You're a little bit, but this is the reason why Hayuvel does what it does. And this is the reason why we believe that this is important, because there are people giving their lives because that they're looking for the safe place. They're looking for the God, because one day, even the prophet Zechariah says that this place is going to be a safe place for the Jewish people. It's going to be a safe place. And we as the nations have to be involved in the process of that.
Right.
The process is us joining with the Jewish people, this family right here,
yes,
in making sure that they have a safe place.
That's good.
And you know, Ann's organization, Americans for a Safe Israel, that's it. You know, this
right.
is why we are so connected and so close to each other.
That's right.
And that's our battle right now. And I invite those people. We have to do something. We can't just theologically get this. We can't just politically get this. We can't just, you know, in our minds and argue just from, you know, continue to, we got to put feet on this.
Yeah.
We have to get feet. This family put feet on their return to Judea and Samaria, exactly where God spoke that this land was going to be given to their descendants. So we have to agree with that.
I agree.
And I just wanted to share that story because it's a very
Thank you.
significant story for us and for me personally.
It is a very touching, deeply moving story. Thank you for sharing that. And I think you're absolutely right. And that is one thing I've learned over the years, is that a lot of non-Jews or Christians specifically, our mindset is if we have the knowledge and understanding, we're in a good place. But the Jewish mindset is that's not enough. You got to take action. You know, understanding that knowledge means you take action. And so what you guys are doing, of course, is light years ahead of most of us. We're trying to catch up with y'all, but I hope to be there this summer or this fall for the harvest. I hope to put my feet on that mountain. We'll see how it goes. But
That'd be great.
So appreciate this story. It reminds me also of a story. A friend of mine in Jerusalem has a jewelry store, and her family lives in Jerusalem, but her and her husband live in a settlement community in Judea. And I asked her, why don't you live in Jerusalem, the city of gold? She said, because my people, this is our land. And if we don't live there, they're going to steal it from us. We have a right to live in Judea. That's our homeland. And it was just a very inspiring, I mean, they too live amongst situations that put them in challenging situations, but they do that in spite of, because of, that's their land. How can someone come to my house and tell me I can't live here or try to bully me out of here? This is, it's a lot. It's so inspiring, so inspiring. To that end, I need to wrap up here. I've got a couple more questions. I want to take this information you've given us and these amazing stories of these beautiful people that are trying to live their life as Jewish people in the Jewish nation, in the heart of the Jewish country. What would you say? There are many people who do love this, who are connecting to your story, who are understanding more and more what you're saying, what we need to do. And we feel called to support Israel and the Jewish people, but many people feel already called to maybe support the orphans in Haiti, or to spend their time and effort supporting the pro-life movement, or even outreach to Muslims or whatever. How do we align with Israel and do what you're telling us that we need to do, impact our focus if we're focused on other areas? Can we do both, or is it one or the other? I don't know.
Yeah, no, you can do both, but you have to bless Israel first. It's what we've been talking about. You know, is Haiti would be a blessed nation right now if it had a real solid support, and I believe a support for the Jewish people. And I think that we bring the message, because we as non-Jews need to bring a message that this is important for countries that are want to see the favor of God on those countries. Then we have to do what God is doing. Mm-hmm. And first of all, you know, even in our culture today, it's very difficult to even believe in the existence of God. I can tell you for sure from what I see, and the, you know, even the resistance of what's happening, the opposition of the things that are happening here proves to me without a doubt the existence of God. This whole area, the Judea and Samaria area, is the, you know, the landmass of Rhode Island. There's really, it's not a significant land. What is it here that holds such a powerful, you know, has in the you know, has got hold of the political environment of the whole world.
That's right.
It's a crazy thing, but it only declares to me of, you know, God's existence. Oh, yeah. And we've got to stand in that, and Haiti needs to stand. So if you got a heart for Haiti, go to Haiti and tell them God's going to show up in Jerusalem. He's doing something. He's moving right now in Israel. He's doing the things that the prophets spoke about. Yes. And if they're really listening, if they're really reading their scriptures, they're going to be encouraged by the words that the prophets spoke, that they're happening.
That's right.
So, and that works anywhere.
That's right.
That's the message. From Israel is going to come world peace.
Amen.
You want to get a hold of that, then we can, you know, that's where we need to be. That's what we need to be doing.
That was really why we started this thing. Our focus here amongst Mike and Ann and myself is we're trying to get people's attention to Israel. We know there's other needs and we're fulfilling those needs, but when we're bringing those needs, those, you know, supplies to Haiti, our message must be, here's your supplies, but please get your focus on Israel, because that's where, like you said. So that I could not even have said it better myself. Thank you, Tommy, for that. Now with that comes my question. So let's get down to the nuts and bolts of how we can do that. If in our effort and to align with Israel, while we're also focusing on other things, you know, based on Genesis 12:3, what would you say are, you know, 4 or 5 things that Christians can really do to become friends with Jewish people? Because it's about the friendship, the relationship. What could we do? Give me a few things.
You know, I think it's first of all, it is a difficult, depending on where you're at, you know, because obviously there are the Jewish people in America. A lot of them are working side by side with Christians, and so there's not issues like you might see in Europe or other places, but I think that you know, for one, it is something that we need to walk in this place of wanting to support. And even, you know, it's not all of the Jews in America see actually, you know, what, just like a majority of the Christians don't see what we're talking about here. So for us, those of us that do see, we need to be bringing the message of Israel to the Christian people, but also I think to the Jewish people, that you're excited, not preaching to the Jewish people, but excited about what God is doing in Israel with the Jewish people, because his name has been put on Israel and the Jewish people. Some Jews are not comfortable, you know, with our enthusiasm, and I think we have to be very careful with that. But also getting involved in organizations that are doing these things, getting involved. Our you know, organizations like Ann's organization, where you have Christians and Jews working together. who are actually going to Israel together. They're doing things together. Who, people that want to come here and participate in what the communities of Israel are doing, and strengthening the communities of Judea and Samaria to do these things. These are things that are important, because it's something that the nations need to get connected to. They need to be involved in, because God actually really mandates it. The praying, for the peace of Jerusalem, doing those things that God is asking us to do. To say, in Psalms 126, God has done great things for you. And then the Jews' response, I love that, the Jewish response, God has done great things for us.
Yes.
It's not until we initiate the conversation that says God has done great things for you. And when the Jews, I believe, as would anybody, hear and reminded what God is doing, because I think some of our Jewish brothers and sisters have been through, let's just call it what it is. They've been through hell.
That's right.
Because of us, and we've got to turn the ship around. Aaron says that a lot. We got to turn the ship around, and
Yes.
we have to do that. And so we can do it. We just have to recognize that God is going to accomplish it, and hopefully, may we merit it happening in our lifetime, in our day.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Tommy. Those are great suggestions. Just to recap, to get involved in organizations that Jewish organizations, Jewish Christian relation organizations, political, spiritual, anything you can get involved in, educate yourself on the geopolitical history of Israel. I would add to that your list. Thank you, Tommy, for that. I love that you also covered praying for Israel, the peace of Israel and peace of Jerusalem and the Jewish people. I would say one more comment about the sheep goat, and then I have a final question for you. To add to your sheep goat, insight, back to our current U.S. administration, and also to add that the EU just removed Hamas from the terrorist list. That's important to watch, which is mind blowing, but that's where we're at. And with our current U.S. administration, who has the longest list ever of anti-Semites in charge of high-level national security information. So it's not looking good. It looks like they're positioning us to be a goat nation. But we as individuals must and can do our part to do exactly what you're saying, so that we don't turn into a goat nation. And that there's a lot of things to be said about how.
I think I would add also to that, and I could speak for Christians. I can't really speak for the Jewish community,
Sure.
But I can speak for Christians to say that in your church, in your congregation, if there's not somebody that's leading or initiating and I talk to you, Lori, about this a lot, in your challenges, fight for it. Fight for it within your congregation. Go to your pastor. Tell him that this is what God is doing right now. You've been to Israel. You've seen these things happening. Your church needs to be the place where it all starts.
Yes.
We have to undo the horrible realities of the past, and it's a new day.
Yeah.
The church has got to change the narrative. It has to change the narrative.
Yes.
And we can do that in your congregation. Go in, start having those Israel classes. Go into your, ask to have, take a trip to Israel. Take 20 people, 10 people, 50 people. Whatever you can do. Get your church fired up about what God is doing right now in the nation of Israel and with the Jewish people. So this is also important. We can change the country, but and Christianity is still the majority religion in America. If Christians would get hold of the truth of God's word and the promises of God, then we could change America. And what you're saying, you know, the reality is that we could be facing some really tough times.
That's right.
But we need to change it. We need to get hold of that and get our churches and our congregations in order.
That's right. Thank you. Tommy, you have a new talk show, and it's called Talking Israel. I just heard about that last week. Congratulations. Talking Israel is the name of your new show. So I'm wondering, you know, there's a lot of content coming at us right now. I mean, I can barely keep up with everything that's coming my way to watch and listen and all. Tell us what your new talk show, Talking Israel, how does it set apart from all the other content that's coming our way?
You know, we step on a lot of tight wires. We walk a lot of tight wires here. You know, I can't. I'm trying to think of a better way to do this, but for the Jewish people, any Jews that may be watching this, it is difficult. It's been we live literally in Christianity. We live in a history of Jew hatred. It is from our founding fathers. We have inherited lies. We have inherited these untruths, and what we're doing, and because this is my personal journey, what I found here in Har Bracha was Jews that were coming here and reading the same Bible that I read, but getting having a different outcome. And so what is it that kept the Jewish people on track? I mean, think about it, really 3,000 years, 2,000 years at least, but even 3,000 years struggle to get their place, to find their identity. And yet they never gave up. How long, Lori, do you think Christians would give up if we didn't get what we were going after? How long would it take us to just drop the whole thing?
Not long.
Yeah, I mean, if we weren't, you know, Israel, this carrot's out there. Israel's coming in the 1800s, the 1500s, the 1200s. All of they're getting, unfortunately, raped and massacred, and all these terrible things are happening to the Jewish people all along the way. But they never gave up. Never gave up. What religion survives in that? And so one of the things that we're exploring is Rabbi Melamed has a new book that he's written called Traditions. And in this book called Traditions, where Yonatan Behar and I, a religious Jew, are exploring the mysteries of the Jewish people. And it's a fascinating journey for me to hear. We're just going through the book because, and I want to say this, but there's a lot of Christians that would hear this and go, is he talking about Judaism? And I hate to even say this, but there are a lot of Christians out there that still literally hate Judaism. But Judaism held on. Judaism never gave up on the land of Israel. We're only back here. The Ann Stacys and the Lori Hines are only back because the Jews came back.
That's right.
You know, you didn't come back because you're on your own. You know, you didn't come back to this reality because you just read it in the Bible. Very few Willem Ten Booms out there that believed, you know, long before it happened that it was going to happen. It's very few of those people. Most of us came back only because the Jews never gave up on a dream, never gave up on their history, never gave up on a promise. So this is what we're going to be talking about, and we're talking about it, and we're just diving in to this teaching, and hopefully we as Christians, you know, from the nations are going to grab hold of this understanding, and we can bring it into our communities. And I think it's you know, this is what the prophet spoke about, that we would grab hold of the tzitzit, 10 men from the nations would grab hold.
Yes.
And I think it's going to be and I'm excited about it. We'll see where it goes. I expect some pushback. I expect it, but I'm going to tell you, I'm not afraid of that.
I love your zeal for God's word and God's promises, and I just can't wait to hear your new talk show. Where can we listen to it at? Is there a website?
You can go to Hayuvel or serveisrael.com.
Okay.
Any of those places, you can type in probably, Talking Israel.
Talking Israel.
You can do that and find it. I think it's on YouTube, and also I think it's probably just on YouTube, but probably on Facebook too as well.
Okay, great.
Out there.
If you're finished screen sharing, I want to do a screen share real quick as we close up here. We're going to have we have a few minutes for a couple of Q&As. But before we take questions, I just want to do a screen share real quick. Let me see if I can get this up. All right. Guys, Tommy has poured a lot into us, and we are so grateful for what Tommy has done. I just want to encourage you all to go to his website and consider sending him a love offering so he can continue to be the hands and feet in the mountains of Israel to love and support the Jewish people. It's you can take a screenshot of this if you'd like. And so it's serveisrael.com, and then you can find the donate button there. All right, Tommy, fantastic presentations. We are more better because of you and everything you poured into us. So much so. Thank you. We have more. I know there's lots.
I'm more better because of you.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I would be more better if you would all get your feet over to Israel, not just your pocketbooks to Israel. That would make me more better.
Awesome. Awesome.
So I hope to see all of you, your beautiful feet, Isaiah 52 feet over here in the land.
Hopefully soon. Thank you. Okay, anybody have any questions or comments? Please unmute yourself and let's see what we have here. Anne, you've got a comment, okay?
Well, I do. I know that Tommy knows this, but Haim Solomon was a wealthy Jewish man during the American Revolution who actually is known for financing the American Revolution. And right. I think that what Tommy was trying to say is that we've had decades, centuries in America of anti-Semitism, but I don't think so much our founding fathers. And I'm sure he agrees with me on that. But I think what you were talking about is that we have had through the church a tremendous amount of anti-Semitism. And but it was a Jew who financed the American Revolution.
Yeah, it's amazing.
For that.
I think the thing that I think that is more concerning about the Christian community is the indifference. And I think there's more damage done through indifference than there is from even those that were perpetrators. And the indifference, as we've seen, spoken of by many Jewish writers of the Holocaust. Where were those who would just get up and do something?
That's right.
And I think that would be the main thing I would be speaking to, is those that we can no longer just sit still anymore. We've got to do something. And God's doing it.
Yes. Thank you, Anne. That's an important piece of information we need. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Ari, go ahead. Hey, buddy.
Shalom.
Hi, Shalom.
From California.
Yeah.
Hey, Ari.
Hey. Yeah, so I just wanted to give, if you look in Ezra chapter 2, it lists all the Jewish people that came from the exile from Babylon, and it mentions their names and the tribes that they were from and the importance of that return. And so here we are, fast forwarding it to, here 2021, and we're still having the Jewish people return back to their land and the importance of all this. And so anyway, I just thought I'd mention that because of the importance of them listing in Ezra 2 till today. It makes sense that it's important to God, to Hashem, for this to happen. And so anyways, the other thing I wanted to say is that last week I became a monthly supporter of Ohio Bell. I've given before in the past, but this time I became a permanent supporter. So anyway.
Thank you, Ari. I appreciate that. Now just get over here. Okay. Let's get,
yeah. COVID, you know, but after COVID,
right. After COVID, let's do it. Let's make a plan.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ari. All right. Anybody else before we close?
And I would say that, Ari, too, that the world has never seen the return of the Jewish people like it's seeing right now. Even That's what true. We saw in the scriptures in return in the Babylonian exile from the Babylonian, they've never seen, Jerusalem's never looked like this before. Judea and Samaria has never looked like this before. So we got a lot to be excited about, and there's a lot of God things happening right now, and we need to recognize it.
Very, very true. Very cool. Very cool. This journey is the most exciting journey I've ever been on. I have to just tell you that. Okay, guys, thank you for coming. Don't forget, next week, we're going to hear from Julie Cerrone out of Kenneth Copeland Ministries. She's got an incredible story to tell us, and we hope to see you all there. Please bring a friend. Same link, the same Zoom link you're using today. Please save it because it'll be the same Zoom link for every Sunday. And if there's no other questions, we just want to say thank you, Tommy, once more for spending time with us. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Give Julie a big hug from me. She's the one of the last people I saw here since the COVID deal. She got in just right under the wire too. So give her a big hug from me.
I sure will. We sure will. Ann and Mike, thank you. Please wave to the crowd so they'll know who we're talking about. Thank you for your support and all you do for Israel and trying to grow our circle of friends. You guys are my mentors, and I'm so grateful for you too. Guys, thank you. This is all we have for today. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week. Take care. Have a great week, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Stay safe.